So how long did it take me to go full-time in property and escape my 9-to-5 job and be a full-time property developer? Well, in this video, you're gonna find out. So as it stands right now, I own 30 properties and I'm currently buying more as well. And I'm obsessed with property, like it's my passion, I love it. It's something that I'm obsessed with. So if we take it back 7 years ago, I was working 40 hours a week in this call center. And the reason I actually took that job was so I could get a mortgage, so I could actually get on the property ladder. And that was my goal. That was the reason why I even started working there. And I'm so glad that I did that. To be honest with you, I really am thankful and grateful that I actually had that job opportunity, because when you're getting like your first property, the first thing they're going to look at is your income. So how much you're actually making per month, per year. So for me, my salary was £25,000, and that's how much my basic salary was. And I had commission as well. So if I hit my targets, I could make another £400 a month, which kind of worked out that I could make up to £30,000 per year. So it wasn't like a super high paid job at all. Now, I was working this job and there was days where I was unmotivated. I did not want to show up. I didn't want to go to that job a lot of the days, but I just always showed up, gave it my 100%. And it's interesting because that job actually taught me a lot about sales, relationships, how to speak with people, customer service. So I definitely learned a lot from working in that role. So I'm super grateful for that job. I don't want to ever come across like I'm a 9-to-5 basher, because I'm not. If you're starting out in property and you don't have a job, I'd recommend you, number one, get a job. That's like one of my key pieces of advice. What I would give to people is get a job, because you need that income to show the banks that you're eligible for a mortgage. Anyway, I was working this job and I was there for around 9 or 10 months before I actually purchased my first property. So property number one, purchased it for £125,000, but it was worth £150,000. So I was able to buy it, do no works to it, just put down a 10% deposit, lived in one of the rooms, rented out my spare rooms, and that changed my financial situation. It honestly did. Like, I felt the difference in my pockets, because I was now making around £550 profit per month. Whereas before I was in the red. I was like down £700-800 from living in this apartment, paying my bills, my rent. So I was down like £700-800, but now I'm up 500 and I'm living for free. So you can see there, it massively helped me, my finances. So I'm in the call center, and a year later, I've now got the keys for my first property. So I had this one property and I didn't want to stop there. I said to myself, right, I've got this property, 3 of the rooms are rented out, I'm making 550 quid profit per month. I need to get 10 of these. So that was my goal. Then I started really going hard with property, started YouTube, started Instagram, and I was just going hard, basically, just trying to get 10. And obviously when I got to 10, it was like, how do I get to 20? Then 20 to 30, and now it's like a lot more that I'm trying to get. So I refinanced that first property. So bought it for 125, refinanced it at 150. So I was able to pull out £18,000, which allowed me to buy my next one, my next property, which was actually round the corner from the first one. So it was just a short walk for me. I didn't drive. And yeah, I just used to walk over to the property, meet builders on site, get the best quotes. And I actually refurbished my second property, full on renovation, for £18,000. That was the total renovation cost. Now, if I had that same property now, it probably cost me about 40 grand to do the exact same works that I did back then, because construction prices have just gone up so much over the last 7 years. The second property, I renovated it, refinanced that one for 150k, bought it for 100k, spent 18k on it, and refinanced it at 150. And I was able to pull out more money from that and then use that towards my third property. But also I was working with investors at this point as well. So on a very small scale, I was working with investors. They'll put in like, say, £7,000-8,000. I'd give them back a fixed interest rate on top of their money. So say if someone put in like 10 grand, then they would actually get back 11 grand. So they would make around £1,000 if they put in 10,000. So it's not much, but if their money's just sitting in the bank, then it does work out quite well for them. So I was doing more of that, and then I really just went hard on social media, and I got a lot more people reaching out to me and wanting to invest with me. So I just carried on basically, and I just kept on buying. And my whole thing was, I need to be a student of the game. I need to learn everything. I need to study, work my arse off. And that's what I did. So in terms of the job, I was still working full time in this job. You know, I was on 3 properties, and it was actually the point where I was about to buy my 4th property. And what I decided to do was go part time. So I was working 6 days a week. I reduced that to 4 days a week. Now, I'm very risk averse, so I don't like taking major risks. So for me, I decided to go part time because I'd still have that salary, still have that monthly income from the job, but I would now have lots of free time which I could use, you know, on my property business. So 3 properties, buying my 4th one, that's when I went part time. And that was about 3 years in to my job, my call center job. Then when I was on my 5th property, that's actually when I went full-time property investing. You know, I just left the job, quit, and I can remember leaving the job and how it felt. Honestly, it felt so good. I'm not gonna lie, it felt so nice leaving that job, because in that role I was in, I had like managers saying to me, "You're not management material," just kind of like hate on me, the managers at the call center. Although I gained a lot from working there, there was definitely a lot of negatives, a lot of negative people. People would moan all day. You'd be working with people that you don't necessarily want to work with. And I'm just so glad now that I don't have to work with anyone that I don't want to work with. I get to call the shots and choose who I want around me and in my circle. So yeah, that's definitely a plus side of now. But when I left, I was thinking about, you know, just like saying, "I quit, I'm gone, you're never gonna see me again." I was thinking about just saying like a speech to some of the managers, but I just thought they probably don't care what I do. They actually don't care about me. So I just left, handed in my notice, left, and yeah, I was on 5 properties. And that was about 3.5 years in to my journey. So I was working in the call center for 3.5 years, and yeah, that was kind of how it all went. So when I left and went full-time property, it did feel amazing, but as well, it also had another side to it, which was that fear, that anxiety of, oof, am I being lazy by not trying to do both? But that anxiety pushed me a lot. It really did. It pushed me to work harder, to really, you know, become even more obsessed with property, learning the strategies, taking action and speaking with more people. At this point, my social media had got a decent traction, so I was getting a lot of people messaging me that wanted to invest with me. And it was actually on my 6th property that I did my first joint venture. Before, I was working with investors on a fixed return basis, but now I'm actually doing joint ventures, which is where I'll partner up with somebody, they'll put in all of the capital, so they'll fund the whole deal. I will do all of the work, so find the deal, manage the full renovations from start to finish, manage the refinance process. I will do all of the work, and then we would split the profits 50-50. So that's what I do now. I much prefer that than actually borrowing funds from an investor, because you have to pay them back, and that's a lot of pressure. There's been times where I've had some bad experiences with, you know, I'm a little bit late, like I'm a month late on paying someone back, and they've got the courts involved, they've got a solicitor involved, and they've just tried to make me bankrupt, basically. Unsuccessfully, because obviously I was able to get the remortgage through and pay them back their funds, but it was just very, very stressful, and that's kind of why I prefer the joint venture model, because you don't actually have to pay anyone back. It's more a case of you both own the property, so you both get that capital appreciation. The partners will make more money. They're not just going to make like a fixed 8 or 10% return on their investment. Now they can make much more. So that's why I transitioned into doing that, like the joint ventures over the fixed return. So then I just really scaled up, and obviously now I'm on 30 properties, buying 2 more, but I'm looking for a lot more deals to buy as well. That's a little bit about my journey, guys. But I can remember leaving that job. The first thing I did, I caught a flight. I went to like Malta or something, and I just loved it over there. It was a vibe. It really was. I went to Malta and I knew people that was in Portugal, Malta. I just used to travel around a little bit, like around Europe, and I can remember that freedom feeling, and that's something what I always remember. That was like the dopamine I got from that was a lot. It was a shitload of dopamine. So yeah, I'm so glad I did it. Things worked out nicely, and if you're on the fence about should you leave your job or not, what I would say to you is only leave when you're in a safe position, because when I was going part-time, I was making around £2,500 profit per month from my properties that I owned. So from those 3 properties, that's how much I was making. And I felt safe going from full-time to part-time. So now I'm making 2.5 grand from my properties, and I'm also making, say £1,900 from my job. So like after tax, £1,800, £1,900, that's how much I would get. And then I'm also making, the 2.5K. So when I went part-time, I was probably making in total around £4,500. That's kind of how much I was living off. So yeah, that's when I went part-time. I felt like that was safe. And then obviously that went down a bit because I'm now doing less hours at my role. And yeah, but I was still making like a good 1,200, 1,300 from my job, from my role that I was working at. And I've still got these properties. And then obviously once you get more and more properties, it's like building blocks. So it's like every property you get, your income or your profit per month will just kind of jump up a little bit, and it keeps on going higher and higher. And then before you know it, you're on the 10K mark, then you're on the 15K mark, and et cetera, et cetera. So you can kind of see it's like building blocks. That's how I see it. But I always saw property as a long game. I never thought of property as like a get-rich-quick scheme or a way to escape my 9 to 5. I never saw it like that. I just saw it as like I'm building wealth and I'm increasing my cash flow. Now, how did I get properties that gave me good cash flow? Was by learning about HMOs and doing HMOs, HMO conversions. HMO is basically a shared accommodation, a shared house. And typically you'll make a lot more profit by doing that strategy rather than just doing like a normal family home. Because with a family home, you can look to make, 300, 400, sometimes more, but profit-wise, you're looking less than £500 typically. So with HMOs, you're usually looking upwards of £1,000 profit per month. So I understood that early on, and that's why all of my properties, except for one, are all HMOs. The first 2 properties that I got, I actually sold them. So if I didn't sell them, I'd be on 32 right now, but I did sell them just so I could reinvest the capital somewhere else into like a bigger project, like a 6-bed HMO. So I did that. Yeah, if you're on the fence of should you leave or should you not leave your job, I would say just make sure you're safe with whatever you do. And that's the best advice I can give you. Don't leave too early. Like, delay the gratification. And that's a massive thing. We need to delay gratification. It's like getting the car that you want. You don't want to just get your dream car as soon as you can afford it. You want to wait until you can buy that car like 3 or 4 times over or 10 times over before you actually get it. So that's kind of my mentality on things, and I hope this video helps, guys. Also, if you are kind of struggling to get your property business going, or you just want to get to that next level in your property journey, then click on the link below in the description of this video, because I can help you to start, scale, and grow your property business in 2025. Have me as your mentor, and I'd love to speak with you. So click on this link, book in a call with us, and we can see how I can help you. Have a great day.